Hi, Goopy.
Hi.
How are you today?
No, I'm alright.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing my bedtime robe
Why is that?
because this is a bedtime episode. So welcome to the second official Iconoblast bedtime stories.
Number 2.
Tonight we're going to be doing something a little different. Instead of reading a story that Joel discovered through unknown means, we're going to be reading a story coming from a friend of ours.
I'm working on another one, by the way. I've got some,
Working on finding some context for
Yeah.
I
think I might,
another historic document.
I might have found something good. But first,
I think a listener also... Oh, somebody just drove by playing some nice ranchero music.
yeah, that was awesome.
A listener of ours is sending... I think we have a couple listeners that are sending us some historic documents that they found.
Really?
So those should be interesting to read.
For bedtime stories?
Yep.
Good, because I'm real sleepy today.
Me too.
Coop, will you read me to bed, please?
Well, tonight we are going to be reading a book by L.J. Dougherty.
Dougherty.
Dougherty, that's how he said to pronounce it.
That's how he said, yeah.
L.J. Dougherty.
You guys know him? You've seen him in the chat?
He pops up in the chat every now and then.
Yeah.
But we will be reading a little bit of Beasts of the Caliber Lodge.
I think this is his first official published novel. He's a novelist now.
And he's working on another one, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's writing another one. He's a filmmaker. Also, that's how I know him. We were going to make a film together a few years ago. We did like a Kickstarter, and the video turned out awesome. It just never actually came to fruition, as a lot of films seem to do that. But he's a great guy. He's super nice. I had a great time working with him, and he's a good friend of mine. I stayed at his house. He has a couple dogs.
What kind of dogs?
He's got like a German Shepherd mix that slept with me. His name was, It's like Leroy, but it's said differently. He's going to be mad at me for saying it wrong.
Is it Elroy?
Elroy, that's what it is, I think. Elroy?
Like from the Jetsons? Maybe. Elroy Jetson?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to start off...
He's a good man, so let's get into it.
I'm going to start off by reading the synopsis from the back of the book, just to give everybody an idea of what we're getting into on this one.
Yeah.
Still don't understand why you insist on being naked when we do this.
It's how I sleep.
I need to hold the book up like this to block that.
You need a bigger book. For the balls.
You wish. Oh, yeah, those...
Those aren't my knees.
Honestly, they look a little swollen and discolored. You might want to see a doctor about that.
Yeah.
1965. Jimmy Knotts has grown accustomed to the dangers involved with his line of work. Hunting escaped Nazis across multiple continents has whittled him down to a focused predator. When his latest lead brings him to an elite hunting lodge in the Alaskan frontier, Jimmy is ushered into a frozen realm of territorial monsters unlike any he's ever encountered. Pulp horror meets international intrigue in an adventure full of icy suspense, cinematic ultraviolence, and Sasquatches.
I like the sound of that.
So without further ado...
We're doing it?
Chapter 1.
Wait, before you start, if you guys like this, you can buy the book on Amazon.
Yes, you can find it on Amazon. It is
nice and easy.
Beasts of the Caliber Lodge by L.J. Dougherty. The last name is spelled Dougherty. First name, L.J.
L.J.
Chapter 1. The Nazi Hunters. Argentina, 1960. The wrinkled Austrian with the silver hair sipped Campari from a hand-blown rocks glass as he sat on the patio outside Roja Rey's cantina. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a Swiss Wittenauer Review pocket watch. Popping it open, he checked the time, then dropped it back into his vest without a word. As usual,
Austrian.
Yep, Austrian. As usual, he was the first to arrive, feeling the need to provide himself with enough time to order a beverage and settle in before his counterpart showed up. What was unusual about that particular dreary afternoon, however, was the fact that his counterpart had not yet arrived, and the clock had passed the agreed-upon hour. His partner was rarely early, but never had the Austrian with the timepiece known him to run late. He listened to the rhythmic patter of the rain as it pelted the top of the patio covering. It had been overcast and murky for 2 days, and his mostly white wardrobe seemed unfit for the weather. He tipped the cream-colored fedora back on his head as he leaned out to get a better look at the looming sky. This wasn't how he expected South America to be. Though he wasn't there to bask in the sunshine, he had admittedly been looking forward to the warmth. He looked at the other guests sitting around him on the patio, many of them white, Aryan. Even before the war, the Patagonia region was home to many German immigrants and the families they raised. Nazism was commonplace and remained so for years, following the collapse of the Third Reich.
He's a Nazi hunter.
The local schools even taught the same curriculum and propaganda, and several villages, including this one, boasted authentic Bavarian cuisine. The table next to the Austrian was lined with sauerbraten, potato salad, and red cabbage, and the men eating it portly Caucasians with gin blossom cheeks.
Little chubbies.
He took another swig of his Campari and flagged down the waiter who, from what he could tell, may have been the only true Argentinian in sight. Che Guevara was from Argentina.
Fuck Che Guevara.
Menu? The Austrian asked with his distinctly Austrian accent. He kept his words limited. Any of these men around him were potential war criminals in hiding.
So this was a real thing where the Nazis all hid in South America?
Yep.
So you would actually go to a town and it'd be just full of Germans?
There's a town in South America that has an unusual number of twins, and they think that it could possibly be due to the after effects. Due to the after effects of some Nazi experiments.
No shit.
I haven't looked real deep into it, so I don't know if that's... I know that there's a town in South America that has an insane amount of
Nazis?
twins, but I don't...
Twins.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of German descendants also because a lot of the Nazis fled to South America.
Was it just Nazis, or was it also like people running from the Nazis?
I don't think that if you were running from Nazis, you would go to the same place all the Nazis are going.
True.
You'd probably go to America or Canada or...
Anywhere but there. Not
pretty much anywhere outside of...
How did they get there? On boats and planes?
Pretty sure they didn't walk.
Why wouldn't they walk?
I mean, besides boats and planes, how else do you get to South America? The dark-haired waiter nodded and hurried away. One of the portly men with the gin blossom cheeks glanced over at the Austrian, eyeing him up and down. He stared back, noticing a bit of cabbage hanging from the bloated fellow's lower lip. Buenos tardes, the Austrian said to him.
Buenos tardes.
The fat man turned away, focusing on his lunch. The waiter returned with a ratty menu. He watched a dehydrated hand point at one of the items as the Austrian said, "Esto, por favor." The waiter nodded again, making his way into the restaurant to give the order to the cooks. The Austrian immediately regretted not ordering a fresh Campari, as his was nearing its end. He wasn't a fast drinker, so the visual of his last drops of the red liquid barely covering the bottom of the glass made him check his watch once more. Something was wrong.
Fuck.
He and his partner, an American by the name of Jimmy Knotts, had been in the tiny village for just over a week, staying at a bed and breakfast near the outskirts. The Austrian had left early in the morning to do some reconnaissance and had asked Jimmy to meet him at 2 p.m. there at Roja Reyes.
Meet me there at 2 p.m.
It was now 2:15 p.m.
Fuck, 15 minutes late.
If his partner had found himself in a challenging situation, the Austrian would have no way of knowing. They had been splitting up since they arrived in town, covering as much ground as they could to determine whether the rumors were true that their target had been in the area. There wasn't much the Austrian could do now but wait. 10 minutes later, the waiter returned with a plate of wurst and sauerkraut. The Austrian raised his empty glass and gently shook it. "Campari, por favor." Campari wasn't his drink of choice, but it was popular among the locals, and he thought it might help him blend in, if even a little. The waiter returned with a fresh beverage, and the Austrian let it sit there undisturbed as he ate, as if not touching the drink would slow time so he wouldn't have to worry as much as he should. He would have sat there waiting all night if need be, but he hoped his friend would show up soon so he could put his imagination to rest. The rainfall grew heavier, and the Austrian slid his finished meal to the other side of the table. He checked his watch again, nearly 2:45.
Austrians always eat everything on their plate.
Do they?
Mm-hmm. It's against their religion not to.
Oh. Aren't Austrians...
Religious.
Aren't they primarily Christian?
It's against their country. I don't know. I made it up.
Oh, okay. A Nazi hunter out alone in the German capital of South America was a dismal scenario. The screech of tires and the blare of a car horn startled the Austrian. He looked up to see who the oblivious fool was that had nearly been hit by a speeding car. A wave of relief enveloped him as he realized it was Jimmy, trudging across the center of the street, his arms wrapped tight around his body as the weather drenched him. Rain cascaded off his bowler hat, flowing down his shoulders as he staggered into the patio and flopped himself down into the chair across the table from the Austrian.
He made it.
"My God," the Austrian muttered. The drenched man didn't even attempt to dry himself off. He just sat there, soaked, his arms crossed, and his chin tight to his chest in the cold. What happened?
I don't know.
That's what he said.
Oh, that's what he said.
Short of being overly damp, Jimmy Knotts looked good for a man on the cusp of 40. He was trim, healthy, though surely on the verge of catching a cold in his current state.
Oh, so he looks like you.
I'm not trim nor healthy.
You are trim. You look healthy.
Not healthy.
It didn't say was, it said looked.
Well, close enough then, I guess. Things went a bit south, but based on where we are, it was to be expected, Jimmy replied. Where have you been? Investigating. You had me worried. Not worried enough to keep you from your new favorite beverage, I see. The Austrian looked at the Campari he'd been milking and slid it to Jimmy. Have some. You look like you could use it. I'm not sure if I should take that as a kind gesture or an insult. The portly man with the gin-blossom cheeks glanced at Jimmy, who picked up the Campari and made a cheers gesture to him. The fat man turned back to his friend and let the two Nazi hunters continue the rest of their meeting without interruption.
So they're kind of irritated with each other, it seems.
I think he's just irritated because he was late, or maybe just because he was worried. The waiter strolled up to the table and in Spanish asked Jimmy if there was anything he could bring. Jimmy sniffed the Campari and handed it back to his Austrian partner before answering. You have whiskey? The waiter quickly hurried off to collect the drink. Jimmy crossed one leg over the other and leaned back in the metal chair. The Austrian stared at him from across the table, reading him, giving his partner time to decompress from what he could only fathom was a terrible morning. I'm alive, Levi, Jimmy assured him. The Austrian, Levi Ahrens, leaned forward, extended his hand over the table, and patted Jimmy on the cheek with a grin. You've got chutzpah, kid. These two men, the American in the bowler hat and the Austrian with the timepiece, had known each other for over a decade. Their paths had first intersected in 1948, a few years after the war, on a street corner in a small Austrian town. Jimmy, the then 28-year-old American photographer, was working on a portfolio chronicling the aftermath of the war. He was trying to locate a specific building he had seen in a photo some years earlier to capture its current state for a comparative shot. That's when his concentration was interrupted by a vile spewing of verbal venom being hurled at an elderly Jewish woman by a 20-something blonde-haired, blue-eyed delinquent.
Oh.
When Jimmy stepped between the young ruffian and his prey, he uttered not a word. The thug's brow furrowed, confused by the silent American standing before him. He attempted to walk around, but Jimmy took a step to the side, blocking his path. The young man sneered. I think you owe this woman an apology, Jimmy said with a stern insistence. Woman, all I see is a hunchbacked rat standing behind you. There was no hesitation. Jimmy delivered an uppercut to the young man's jaw, cracking a few teeth, knocking him flat on his ass upon the street. He never missed an opportunity to correct those still delusional enough to support the defeated world power that was Nazi Germany. He chastised the young man and sent him off with a mouthful of blood and warning of greater retribution should the punk continue his advances towards the woman. Jimmy ensured she was all right before tipping his hat to her and saying his goodbyes. He made his way across the street to a small cafe and asked the girl behind the register for a cloth to wipe away the blood from the ruffian's mouth that had landed on his lapel. "A commendable act," a confident voice said from behind. Jimmy turned to see a middle-aged Austrian, who he would soon come to know as Levi, sitting next to the window.
Jimmy and Levi.
"A necessary one," Jimmy replied, dabbing his jacket. "Allow me to offer you a cup of tea for your good deed." Levi motioned to the girl behind the register. Jimmy nodded and took a seat at the table. "Kind of you." "My name is Levi Ahrens," Levi said, extending a hand. "James Knotts. Jimmy." They shook. "You're American." "I am." "What brings you to Austria?" "I'm working on a portfolio." Jimmy raised the camera that hung from the thin leather strap around his neck. The tea arrived and the conversation slowly developed into questions about Jimmy's experience as a photographer. He explained that his career began in the corn-husking state of Nebraska in 1938. He had been fresh out of high school when he got in with a private investigating firm and was tasked with collecting photographic evidence for clients, primarily to prove the existence of presumed affairs.
Cooper, my testicles hanging out the back of my leg if I have my knee up like this?
Yeah, it's pretty hard for you to cover them, to be honest.
Okay, good.
It was secretive work, but Jimmy didn't mind it. He got paid to use his camera, and that was enough for him. When the war came, Jimmy quit his job with the firm and set out to document the chaos. He captured history in Italy, Africa, and London, securing his confidence as a world traveler and professional photographer simultaneously.
Wow, good for him.
While drinking his tea in Austria, sitting across from Levi for the first time, Jimmy caught himself when he began to elaborate on the atrocities he had seen committed by the Axis powers. He could tell this reserved Austrian Jew with the weathered eyes had witnessed his own share of atrocities and didn't require an American photographer's detailing of the situation.
Oh.
He gave the slightest of smiles as Jimmy cut himself off. The Austrian didn't enjoy hearing about the deplorable acts, but he loved seeing the anger they sparked within Jimmy as he recalled his experiences. It was the same raw anger that boiled within Levi. That day, while sharing stories over tea, Levi offered Jimmy an opportunity to once again use the skills he had learned at that little investigative firm back in Nebraska. "I work with a group of brave individuals who would do well to add a professional such as yourself to our midst." "What kind of group?" "We gather information that allows us to identify escaped Nazis, capture them, and bring them to justice."
Sick.
"You hunt Nazis?" "Yes, we hunt Nazis."
And this is back when Nazis were still young-ish.
Yeah, some of them. "And when you say bring them to justice, you mean... I mean bring them in alive so they may stand trial for the war crimes they committed. We are not renegade executioners. Our mission is to bring them in to be judged by the tribunal." "Giving Nazis a fair trial?" "Assassinating them would deprive the victims the opportunity to face the monsters and hold them accountable for the horrors they carried out."
Yeah.
"And an American photographer would be beneficial to this cause?" "A skilled man with morals would, yes." Jimmy shook Levi's hand, knowing that joining this team of Nazi hunters was the path he wanted to be on after all he had seen during the war. That handshake was the beginning of a partnership that would cross numerous countries and result in the capture, imprisonment, and deaths of some of history's most evil men.
Fuck yeah.
That handshake eventually brought Jimmy there to Roja Reyes in Argentina.
10 years.
Levi had heard stories about a secret U-boat that traveled to South America carrying high-ranking German officers 2 weeks after the fall of Berlin. Jimmy in tow, the two men traveled across the ocean to the little German oasis where they now sat.
So do you think Jimmy's tough? I mean, he got in a fight, but
Yeah,
he's a photographer, so
probably
that makes
is.
him, you know, photographers aren't always tough. Seems like Levi is tougher, but he likes this kid, right? Now 10 years pass. maybe they've partied a few times. Maybe they've had a threesome with a man or a woman.
Yeah, most likely.
Do you think they've done some had to do some fucked up shit, or got too upset, maybe killed a Nazi when they shouldn't have at this point?
I would hope so,
Probably.
but I'm sure we'll find out.
Probably. So they're tight now.
Or loose, depending on what you're referring to. The rumor mill had even included eyewitnesses who claimed to have seen Adolf Hitler himself step off that U-boat. People said that the German dictator's death was faked, and he had been whisked away to Argentina beneath the Allies' noses.
Do you believe that in real life?
No, not really. I know that after Hitler died, we don't know what happened to his body. There have been...
So they never found a body?
No, there was a body, but the Russians got a hold of it and did something with it. I mean, maybe they built some sort of cyborg out of it or something like that.
Maybe they fucked it.
We do know that the skull fragments that were claimed to be Hitler's weren't actually Hitler's, because once they were tested later, they turned out to be a woman's skull.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hitler was a woman with a fake mustache? That's why it was so small, because it was easy to keep on?
Possibly. Well, Hitler actually had a full-size mustache when he was younger, and then during World War I...
There's pictures of him when he's young?
Mm-hmm. During World War I, he had to shave the edges of his mustache because it got in the way of gas masks, and he ended up just keeping it.
That's why he has that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
True story. That's why he had that little...
He had to shave off the sides.
mustache that we now call the Hitler mustache. Even though Charlie Chaplin had it first, Hitler ruined it.
Wait, so he had to cut it off? They were like, shave your mustache, you have to wear a gas mask. And he was like, fuck you, and shave the sides.
Well, I'm sure he probably just did what he was told.
No, because he was a rebel.
He was kind of just a bitch the whole time.
Really? I thought he was a rebel that was like, fuck this country, I can do it better.
He wasn't so much...
Wouldn't that be... That sounds rebellious. You cut the sides only. See, I don't need to cut my mustache off for the gas mask. I just cut the edges off.
Because that was just... A lot of guys had mustaches back then, and that's what they would have to do, is they'd have to trim the sides off so they could wear...
Everyone just had Hitler mustaches?
Not everybody. The people that wanted to keep their mustaches would have Hitler mustaches. But no,
so it was a baby mustache.
He wasn't so much a rebel saying, fuck this country. He was a psychopath saying, fuck the Jews.
Affirmative.
Which obviously we saw how that turned out.
Yeah, not very good. And Levi's a Jew, an Austrian Jew.
Yes.
But he's jacked, probably like Arnold.
I think all Austrians are.
Yeah.
When Jimmy asked Levi if he believed what he'd heard, the old man told him, if someone as recognizable as Adolf Hitler were in South America, there'd be a lot more than rumors to go off of. Levi was sure to point out that their current target, who they were quite sure had found refuge in Patagonia, was a Nazi officer by the name of Wilhelm Stengel.
They had Patagonias back then?
I hate to break it to you, but Patagonia is named after a country. Because Patagonia is a country.
In South America?
Are you talking about the clothing company?
Yeah, I thought it was a store.
It was a country first. And then they downsized it and turned it into a store.
They got rid of the country and opened up a shop?
Yeah. Yeah, the Patagonia stores are actually a diaspora of the original people that lived in Patagonia. And fun fact, every single Patagonia store actually counts as somewhat of an embassy of sorts, in that it is considered part of a different country. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you ever get in trouble with any police or anything like that,
go to Patagonia.
Go to a Patagonia and ask for
sanctity. Wait, you ask for but don't you have to be Patagonian then? You have to lie a little bit.
No, I think you can ask for that at any embassy, whether or not, because
What do you ask for? You do it at a church too?
Sanctuary. Because
parlay.
What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. The WikiLeaks guy, Julian Assange. He was at was it like a fucking, or no,
Rave?
Edward Snowden went to a Russian embassy, or maybe he just went to Russia, and then Julian Assange was hiding in
Of course he went to Russia. It has snow in his name.
Julian Assange was hiding in some embassy.
It's always snowing in Russia, right?
Yeah, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The country is covered in like 60 feet of snow that never thaws.
The buildings just float.
That's
in
why the
snow?
Russians are always so angry.
Mm.
Stengel was once a colonel of the SS. He had become a rather well-known figure due primarily to the paranoia-induced task bestowed upon him by the Fuhrer. His job was to investigate members of the Nazi Party to ensure they were not hiding any Jewish heritage, in internal affairs of sorts that reported directly to Hitler. During the war, he had sussed out several officers who had falsified documents to conceal their true lineage. He was loathed almost unanimously by his fellow Nazis. I would think that a Nazi that was looking for Jews within the Nazi Party would kind of be like a hero to him. At least to the officers. I mean, not every controversial statement, but not every Nazi was actually like a hardcore Nazi.
Nazi.
A lot of people were just
Same
forced into it.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that you were telling me in Saving Private Ryan? There's that scene where they're speaking a different language.
Yeah,
you don't know it. No one knows it, but you apparently.
I think that they were actually like Czech or something.
So they're not even speaking German, and they're saying, "Hey, we were forced to be Nazis. We didn't want to do this," and they get killed anyway.
Yeah, they were. It's the scene that Joel's referring to is just after they break through the beaches on D-Day. There's a couple.
Yeah, it's shortly after the scene where Tom Hanks has the mirror, and he takes the gum out of his friend's mouth.
Yeah.
And then smears it, and then he can spy on the.
Which I don't care how close you are to somebody. Like I'm not gonna just be sitting there and doesn't he like actually dig into his mouth and just
No,
pull?
I think.
Okay. Am I thinking?
No, actually, I think he puts 2 fingers in his mouth and like deep throats him, and then he gags it up, and then he picks it off the ground, and it's got sand on it, so he chews on it for a minute
and gets all the sand off.
Gets all the sand off, and then he comes on it, and then he glues it to the.
And then
mirror.
he puts his fingers back in Tom Sizemore mouths, and Tom Sizemore sucks on him while he's using the mirror to look around the corner. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, I remember that scene.
And then
now.
the sniper guy that's always praying is jerking off in the background.
Yeah, I think he always is though.
Yeah, but they cut a lot of those scenes out because.
Yeah, similar to the
accurate.
way that Fight Club has a Starbucks cup visible in every single scene, Steven Spielberg was going for the same thing in Saving Private Ryan, except the sniper was going to be jerking off in the background of every scene. But just due to the content of the movie, some test audiences thought that was a little offensive, so they cut out most of it. But he's still
nothing else in the film
still visible jerking off in the background most of the time. He actually did the same thing with Schindler's List too. Except it was the girl in the little red dress was finger blasting herself in the background.
God, Coop.
They cut all of that out though, because of all people, Robin Williams was the one that said to stop doing that. Because Robin Williams, fun fact, Robin Williams used to call the
True?
So this part about Robin Williams is true.
Jerking off and the fingering was a joke, but
this part about Robin Williams is true. Robin Williams would fairly regularly call Steven Spielberg while he was filming Schindler's List, and Steven Spielberg would put him on speakerphone so he could tell jokes to the cast and crew, because the content of the movie was so fucked up and depressing that everybody was just sad all the time. So Robin Williams would actually
do little
shows over the phone for him to cheer everybody up.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Robin Williams was a coke-addled national treasure. Well, he was coke-addled in his younger years. In his later years, he was just depressed. All right, where did I leave off?
Geez. So Buff Levi and smooth photographer
They were talking
Jimmy.
about the colonel that they were trying to track down was responsible for tracking down Nazis that were trying to hide their Jewish heritage.
Oh, that's right.
He was loathed almost unanimously by his fellow Nazis. They were fearful of him, knowing that all he had to do to have them sent away was to tell the Fuhrer they had Jew blood pumping through their bestial veins.
Oh, so he's got some power.
Some believed he had abused his power and had many true Aryans put to death just to keep himself on top. None of that was ever verified, of course, and Stengel remained in Hitler's favor all throughout the war. Stengel was a clever man, a master of the politics game. He had detailed files and secret dossiers on most of the high command, along with the various butchers and psychopaths that made up the executioner's blade of the Reich, which was precisely why he was such a savory target for Levi and Jimmy. If they could capture Stengel, they would be in possession of an invaluable tomb of information. The only problem? They weren't 100% sure what Stengel looked like. All of the existing photographs of him were blurry, hard to make out. He had brown hair and sharp features. He was slender. That's all they had to go off of. Identifying him would be difficult, which was part of the reason Stengel was able to escape from Europe initially. He had done well to stay out of the camera's view throughout the 30s and 40s, and word had it he had once broken the nose of Heinrich Hoffmann, Hitler's official photographer, for trying to take a photo of him during a gala event. Even then, he was mindful of his steps, knowing in the back of his mind that one day he may be on the losing side and would find it necessary to make himself disappear. There on the patio of Roja Reyes, Levi considered Stengel's elusiveness. He believed the Nazi was there in Argentina, and he knew that Jimmy desperately wanted to believe it as well. The impact they could make by bringing the man would be incalculable. The rain beat against the patio covering as the waiter returned with Jimmy's whiskey. After getting a few sips in, Levi attempted to start the conversation back up again with his damp friend. "Whenever you're ready to enlighten me." Jimmy set his glass down on the table. "I met with our contact." Levi regarded him with anticipation. We were interrupted. 2 hours earlier, Jimmy was standing in a disheveled bedroom, his arms crossed, looking inquisitively at the far wall where a framed painting of a cow hung. He cocked his head to the side, wondering if the white heifer with the black spots around her eye had sat well for her portrait, or if she had been an unruly subject, wandering about the open field which made up the backdrop of the artwork. He let the slightest smirk creep over his face, imagining what he may have named her. Betsy, perhaps? Betsy with the black spot. He adjusted his designer bowler hat and perfectly tailored checked jacket. Image said so much. Jimmy knew it could tell the wandering eyes who you were or who you wanted them to think you were, and in this line of work, deception was integral. An Argentinian man sat on the bed staring at the mustard yellow phone on the nightstand. They were both silent, waiting for it to ring. Jimmy's eyes drifted to the Ballester Molina Argentine pistol, sitting beside the phone. It could have been considered an antique at that point, as they had stopped producing them altogether 7 years earlier in 1953. The grip was wooden, the metal barrel tarnished. Jimmy stared at it, his wandering mind beginning to create a backstory for the gun as his boredom set in. The phone rang and the Argentinian man scooped up the receiver and said, "Bueno?" Jimmy watched as the man listened intently to the voice on the other end of the line. The man said, "Gracias," and set the receiver back down in the cradle. "Well?" Jimmy asked. "She say he's there. She say it's him, the man you are looking for." "How does she know?" "She say she's seen the scar, the one on his back. The one made by a knife."
Oh, shit.
When Levi had first told Jimmy about Stengel, Jimmy had asked how they would know the Nazi when they saw him. Levi replied, if the job was easy, everyone would do it. After sporting a cocky grin, he elaborated further. "The man has a unique scar that can identify him if we get close enough. He was stabbed in the back by a fellow officer he had been investigating. The knife pierced him just above the right kidney. So our plan is to pull the shirt off of every German we come across," Jimmy remarked. This made Levi laugh. He didn't laugh often, but when he did, it was hearty and authentic. It was an infectious laugh, one that made everyone around him smile. That's what I was picturing, too.
Something like that.
Others will know him when they see him. Others will recognize him, and they will tell their friends, who will tell friends of their own, and soon enough we'll get wind of it, the Austrian had said. Not all rumors will prove true, but eventually one of them absolutely will. The sentiment had proven true. Jimmy inquired of the Argentinian man sitting on the bed, how did she see the scar? The man looked down at his feet, ashamed. Jimmy didn't need him to say any more. He walked to the door and reached for the handle, but stopped when the man shouted, "Wait!" Jimmy lowered his hand and turned back towards the man on the bed. The man asked, "She will not get hurt, will she?" "We don't have any interest in your sister, Morrow. We just want the man with the scar." This seemed to calm Morrow, at least a bit, but the calm quickly faded when he heard footsteps creaking up the old stairway outside the bedroom. He jumped to his feet and grabbed the pistol from the nightstand. He checked to make sure it was loaded and whispered, "I hope you are armed, senor." Jimmy pulled the snub-nosed .357 revolver from a small holster behind his back and moved alongside the closed bedroom door. The two men listened, their ears pressed to the wall. They could hear the footsteps creaking further up towards them, and Morrow looked at Jimmy to see if he was as visibly terrified as Morrow was. Jimmy looked calm and composed, like he always tried to. Inside, he was afraid, concealing some degree of fear behind his eyes ever since he partnered up with Levi. He knew the job was dangerous, but there in the tiny bedroom in Argentina, Jimmy felt closer to his own demise than ever before.
Oh, shit.
"Don't hesitate," Jimmy whispered back. Morrow nodded in agreement. The footsteps stopped when they reached the top floor. Jimmy could hear the floorboards bend beneath the weight of at least two men. The first knock startled Morrow, and he nearly dropped the pistol. Jimmy steadied him with a gentle touch to the shoulder. The second knock came, followed by a man's voice saying, "Senor, open the door, please." The man on the other side of the door was not fluent in Spanish. His gravelly voice bared a German accent in an intensity that Jimmy knew all too well. A soldier's intensity. Morrow looked at Jimmy for direction, and Jimmy held his index finger to his lips. The third knock was aggressive, and the man on the other side of the door shouted, "Open the fucking door!"
Oh, shit.
Jimmy pressed the barrel of his snub nose against the door and wrapped his finger around the trigger. When the doorknob twisted, Jimmy squeezed. The revolver barked out 3 bullets, blasting into the hallway beyond the door. They could hear the German stumble backward and smash against something, the railing, Jimmy imagined. Then 6 bullets exploded through the door, sending wood splinters spraying across the bedroom. The door slammed open, and Jimmy had to step out of the way to avoid being hit. As soon as he saw the profile of the second man charge into the room, Jimmy emptied the remaining 3 shots from his revolver into the side of the intruder's head.
Oh, shit.
Blood sprayed across Morrow's face, and he stumbled away, colliding against the wall, knocking the framed painting of the cow from its hook in the process. Before Jimmy could reload his weapon, a third man wearing a beige suit came through the door, shooting wildly. Morrow fumbled with his pistol before raising it and firing back. He emptied the clip, and 2 of the bullets made contact with the attacker's chest.
Got him.
The attacker crumpled to the floor, and as if a dormant killer instinct took hold of his body, Jimmy stomped on the German man's neck,
Oh, shit.
just in case the bullets hadn't done the trick. Jimmy's ears were ringing from the gunshots. He reached into his pocket for extra bullets and began loading them into the chambers of the snub nose. A series of wet coughs drew his eyes to the other end of the room where the cow painting lay on the floor. Betsy was stained red. Morrow sat beside her, blood draining from his open mouth.
They got him.
Jimmy rushed to his side and applied pressure to the gunshot wound on Morrow's chest. "It's all right. It's all right," Jimmy reassured the dying man. He looked over his shoulder, sensing there might be another assassin, but they were alone now. It was just them and the dead Germans. Morrow was still squeezing the trigger of the Ballester Molina over and over. Jimmy listened to the click, click, click as Morrow's limp hand continuously tried to fire bullets into the floor. Jimmy gently pulled the gun out of the Argentinian man's hand and said, "It's all right." As the clicking stopped, so did the beating of Morrow's heart.
This is why he was 15 minutes late?
Yeah, I guess no, he was like 45 minutes late.
Oh, by the time he actually showed up.
At Roja Reyes, sitting at the patio table beneath the cheap covering being used by the rainfall, Jimmy finished telling Levi about the death of their contact. It was clear Jimmy was upset, but he wasn't about to open the floodgates of his emotions there at the restaurant. He took a drink of whiskey. All signs point to it being him. The informant's sister saw the scar. We should go out there tonight and get a few photos before we bring the rest of the team in. Go out where? Jimmy leaned in close, his clothes sopping wet, rainwater still dripping from his bowler hat, his arms holding himself tight. He made sure that no one else could hear the next words he uttered to Levi. They call it Residencia in Elko. And that's the end of chapter 1.
Holy shit.
I say instead of stopping in the middle of the next chapter, we call it there.
Well, could you call it there?
So an American photographer
Just killed 3 Germans.
and a Jewish-Austrian Nazi hunter go to South America to hunt down Nazis and apparently end up running into Sasquatch.
Yeah,
I think that's the type of story that I could definitely put my support behind.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good first chapter, I think. How is it going to end up with Sasquatches?
That's why you got to go to Amazon and you got to pick up the book to figure out how it turns to them fighting Sasquatches. But that first chapter was good. It has a good build-up, good character development, and ends with some action and then a cliffhanger.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit. Yeah, they got to go somewhere else now? That sounded creepy. And I was wondering, too, if that was the first time that he had to kill somebody. You know?
That's a good question.
As a photographer and stuff, he probably wasn't ever all up in the shit quite as much as everybody else. It just so happened that he stumbled across him.
I'm not positive, but I would imagine that in that line of work, they would most likely run into some Nazis that didn't want to get caught.
Oh, yeah,
and
for sure.
Would probably rather go down fighting than...
Do you think Levi's been shot before?
Yeah, probably.
Like 4 times?
I think most Austrians from that era have been shot. Or actually,
that's how you go into puberty. You have to get shot by a gun.
It's the Austrian version of a quinceañera.
Yeah. They shoot you right in the chest, and if you live, your pubes start growing.
Oh, wait. So Levi is an Austrian Jew, so it would be the Austrian Jewish version of a bar mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
So what they would do is they'd shoot you once in the stomach and yell Mazel Tov, and then you're considered a man.
Nice.
I wonder if Arnold had to go through the same thing.
Yeah. No, he did.
Well, his dad probably shot him as soon as he came out of the womb to check if it was really his son. This is my son. He's going to survive this.
Yep. And when the
bullet just bounced
off. Yeah, exactly. Arnold has all these scars from bullet holes, but they're like lines, so they don't look like bullet holes. It's because they ricochet.
People just think they're stretch marks from his time as a bodybuilder, but no,
they're all bullet ricochets.
Those are all just bullets that have ricocheted off of his body.
Yeah.
He's not really full-blooded Austrian. His dad's not his dad. His dad is Zeus.
That's right. How did you know that?
Zeus did a lot of fucking.
Did Zeus fuck a lot?
Zeus pretty much did nothing but fuck. The majority of stories about Zeus are him.
Was Zeus a real person?
Tricking women into having sex. No. Well, I mean, in the story that we're making
he became
up
a god
now,
in the stories, but did it start maybe from a real person?
No, it was all just mythology.
Okay.
It was people with very little understanding of how the world came to be, making up stories to explain why the world was the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kept expanding on it from there.
Okay. Well, hopefully a few people that needed to sleep fell asleep, and if you're still awake, it's okay. I will
just go back and listen to the episode again. If you're listening to the episode
or
only,
the first one.
If you're only listening to the episode and you're still not asleep yet, go to YouTube and watch the episode and give us 2 downloads instead of 1.
There you go.
And don't forget to leave a like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a comment. I guess on YouTube the comments make a big difference in terms of the algorithm. The more comments that you get on a video.
I wish the chat did, because our chats are...
Oh, yeah, our chats are
probably 1,000, 2,000.
popping. Yeah, the chats have been
comments per
going
chat.
real well.
Yeah.
Are we doing a premiere for this one?
We did last time. I was wondering that. I don't know if we should or not for these.
I don't know. Maybe we'll.
We might as well just do it. Yeah. Well, if you enjoyed that first chapter, make sure you check out LJ's book. What's the title? Beasts of the Caliber Lodge?
Beasts of the Caliber Lodge, a horror novel by L.J. Dougherty, and it's spelled Dougherty. I thought that was Doherty.
Yeah, I thought it was Dougherty.
I knew a family back in my hometown that had a last name that was spelled the same. They pronounced it Doherty, but we were a bunch of backwards rednecks from Southeast Oregon, so I mean they probably couldn't read anyway, so they had no idea how to pronounce their name.
Yeah. I think it's he explained it to me. It's the origins of his name. The G was pronounced as a K or something. Or the way you would pronounce it was with a K sound.
Oh yeah, I've never heard that before, but obviously anybody who's familiar with the show will know that I'm
We're
not
bad
all that great at pronouncing.
Dialects, pronunciation, research, history, women, talking.
I think the only thing that we are good at is making very, very bad jokes, saying offensive
Dick and fart
things,
jokes, being offensive,
going off on tangents, being culturally insensitive, and drinking too much while we do the show.
Mm-hmm.
People keep coming back for it though. So I guess we're doing something right.
Reason. And we talk a lot about cloacas.
I wouldn't say we so much. That's usually
mostly you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the one always bringing up cloacas.
You know more about them than I do.
Well, you could say that about damn near everything. Except maybe cameras.
Cameras, lighting, having a penis. Oh, burn. Or whatever. Well, I guess I don't have a clam around my penis. So you still have a penis.
I have one too. I just don't spend...
What is with the clam thing?
I don't spend 8 to 12 hours a day talking about mine. So you don't know how much I know about it.
Well, if you spend 8 to 12 days jerking off your penis, it gets bigger. It's like a muscle.
No, I know that's not true. Because mine would be huge.
Should be then.
I mean, it is huge.
It's a lot bigger than it would have.
That's it for this Bedtime Stories episode. Follow us on Instagram. You can follow the podcast at Iconoblast Podcast. You can follow me at Coop Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole lot of ongoing chats with a lot of the listeners that I've been having a lot of fun with. Feel free to send me a comment. I'll reply to you. You can follow Joel at Joel R. Benner.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a lot of really, really good pictures. I don't post a whole lot of shit on my Instagram. Joel posts stuff pretty regularly because he's a very talented photographer.
Oh, thanks, Coop.
Yeah,
maybe I become a Nazi hunter like Jimmy.
Oh yeah, you could be just like Jimmy. Well, all you got to do is go to Argentina, start hunting down those Nazis.
Fuck.
I'm pretty sure that.
But I don't have an Austrian to go with me.
Probably at least like 1 or 2 down there.
Will you work out and become the Austrian that I need to go with me?
I'm always so goddamn tired. My dogs are fucking up my arms. They tried to drag me into the street when they were chasing a dead squirrel the other day. Almost drug us in front of a bus.
Yeah.
That was actually real bad. They
don't have very good leash mastery.
No, well before
their leash mastery is at 0.
Yeah.
It's not your fault though.
I haven't had them in my possession for about 4 or 5 years now, so I'm trying to get them trained up. They're spending a whole lot more time outside than they used to, that's for sure. So they're happy.
Yeah, I think they are much happier.
It seems like. I mean, they're definitely healthier because of the fucking vet bill that I had to spend on them the other day.
I'm glad you did that, though.
I've got a connection with a new vet now.
Okay, nice.
So I'll probably be able to get them some good care, and I got to take my cat Dahlia in to...
I can't believe you moved to Austin, get 2 dogs and a cat. What's wrong with you? You're settling in.
Oh, God,
you're
yeah,
nesting.
Dude. That's what I've been wanting to do for years now, but I fucked up and got into the film industry, and it turned me into a nomad, so now I'm trying to put down some roots. Heavily considering trying to find my sister and my mom are trying to talk me into
getting a house out here?
Getting a house. Well, they want me to get a house out in San Antonio because that's closer to where they live.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would like to. I know that I want to get the dogs out of that apartment. It's pretty small for them.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in between.
Somewhere where they
Well,
got a
if you
yard.
have a big enough house, we could move the set into the house if you wanted to do something like that. Or you got to find somewhere close to the office.
If I go through the trouble of buying a house, do you think I'm going to allow anybody to go to it? That's going to be my fortress of solitude. My mom,
Oh, I'm moving in.
My family isn't even going to be welcome to come over to my house.
I'll be there day one.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build like 15-foot tall walls around the entire house. I'm going to have a fucking drawbridge. I'm going to dig a moat. I'm pretty sure that alligators
who are you going to get to dig the moat?
Here.
You're going to have to hire me to do it.
You have any idea how many Mexicans there are in Texas?
There's a lot.
And they're hard fucking workers. Definitely not going to be hiring a bunch of these hipster white people from here in Austin to
True.
To
I'm
dig
Mexican.
It.
I work hard.
You want to dig a moat?
Yeah. Can I stay there while I do it?
How much do I have to pay you?
You don't have to pay me if I can stay there.
So how much do I have to pay you?
Room and board. That's what I'm saying.
So if I just gave you board, how much would I have to pay you?
I need a room.
What if the room is at a swanky La Quinta Inn?
No.
Here in Austin.
I need to be with you. I need you, Coop.
What if...
What about an RV in the driveway?
How about an RV?
Pay me with an RV.
An RV...
that has air conditioning.
That you purchase yourself... and you live in wherever you want to live.
And then I can drive it over there sometimes?
You can park it in San Antonio.
What happens when Battlefield 5, 6, or 7, whatever one's on, comes out? We need to do like a week bender. You let the moat gate down for that?
That's what the internet's for, Joel.
Yeah, but we need like old times with the 2 screens.
Okay, I will have a room set up if I end up actually being able to get a house, which I mean I have a feeling that that's a little ways off because I'm still not quite making enough money to pay a mortgage yet. If I do end up getting a house,
you think when you own a house and you completely can live off your own and don't need anyone, you'll turn into a cat lady and live alone?
Oh God, no, not cats. The one cat that I have right now, I can barely put up with. I'll still have dogs.
What about barbecues and stuff? You're not going to have barbecues at your house?
You have no idea how much stuff that I can do on my own. I can enjoy damn near anything by actually to be perfectly honest, one of my favorite things that I haven't done in a long time, I like going to a restaurant by myself.
Yeah.
And just eating on my own and taking like a good hour or hour and a half to
Why don't you go do
eat
that?
my food. I've been so fucking tired lately.
Why are you tired all the time?
What
do you need? Tell me what you need. Should I put on my clothes first before I say that?
What if that's what I need?
Oh, we should have said this at the top. The fucking Bert and Ernie artwork was awesome.
Oh yeah, thank you once again, Snatchface Mahoney.
Yeah, Snatchface coming in with deuce
for more artwork.
Yeah,
drew us as Bert and Ernie, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, me too.
They're not gay though.
Well, I mean, I think according to the creator, they were
based off of him and his partner, and they were gay.
Yeah, but the characters themselves. Well, I mean, they're Muppets. They don't have genitalia.
But that doesn't mean what you're attracted to or not.
But they're also...
We're going to have to watch them all and see if they were actually... They took a bath together.
They're literally inanimate objects, so I don't think that... I actually...
okay,
this
so... goes back the same shit.
So here's my actual viewpoint on any of that
Toy
shit.
Story, Woody, and the sheep lady.
Why do these...
They wanted to fuck each other, but they couldn't.
Why do these inanimate objects need to have a sexuality?
They do.
It's discriminatory against asexual people.
Well, no, I guess it's up for debate if they have one or not.
You know what? I think that you can project whatever sexuality you want on absolutely any character, and it doesn't need to be explicitly stated because it's nobody's fucking business what someone or something... It's nobody's business what anybody's sexuality is. They don't need to be explicitly...
I need to know.
Well, all you have to do is be like, oh, you know what? In my mind, they're fictional characters. All you have to do is be like, in my mind, this is their sexuality.
So are you saying that Buzz Lightyear doesn't want to fuck because he's a toy?
I'm saying Buzz Lightyear wants to do whatever you want him to do.
But what does he want to do? I want him to do what he would want to do if he was real.
He wants to do whatever
He
you
wants
imagine
to
him
fucking
wanting
do
to
whatever
do.
the space command tells him.
And to be perfectly honest, so if he were part of the Space Force, I think would technically be an extension of the Navy because I think it's maritime law that governs space. And we all kind of know how people from the Navy are.
So Buzz might be gay.
Your words,
Woody.
Your words, not mine. Now,
Woody.
Woody's a cowboy named Woody. He lays some
the
pipe.
sheep lady.
Yeah.
What's her name? Daisy?
Bo Peep.
Bo Peep.
Little Bo
She
Peep.
was hot though.
I think that most of that was the whalebone framing inside of her dress. It's not like she was.
Yeah, but it
she was
doesn't matter.
thick. If you want to fuck a toy, you can fuck a toy. I will not begrudge you.
Was there ever a
of
toy that turned you on? Is there or a fictional character?
A fictional character that turned
Fictional character, cartoon, toy, action figure, drawing. Like anime porn. What about tentacle porn?
No, I'm not into that. Like I am so fucking boring when it comes to that type of shit.
None of that shit turns you on?
Well, no, it's like
You just have no imagination left? There's no child left in you.
No,
except for video games.
Tentacle porn, it doesn't.
That never turned me on, but it was weird.
I don't have any issue with it. Like I don't begrudge people that are into it, but it's not my thing because
It's not mine either.
if it's something that I'm going to
What
be
about
watching,
anime?
I want to be able to imagine myself in that situation.
You don't have a tentacle penis? Me neither.
We should probably call it
Fire
an
went
evening
out.
at this point.
Fire went out.
Oh, I guess that is a sign that we need to call it an evening. Our fireplace has
Wait,
burned out.
What you have to answer, and then we'll go. What is something that you, an inanimate object, toy, or something that you were turned on by?
An inanimate object?
Anything
That I was turned on
wasn't
by?
an actual thing you can fuck. Like the whole mermaid discussion, similar thing.
Wait,
but
something
is there
that
anything ever?
Something that I can't fuck, that doesn't make any sense because
Yeah, like
I can fuck anything.
well, you can
Where
like,
there's a will, there's a way. If
Like-
there's something that I want to fuck, it's going to get fucked.
so you would fuck a mermaid then. So you can fuck a mermaid.
If there's something that I want to fuck, I'll figure out a way to fuck it. It's just whether or not I want to.
Okay.
And I'm a real boring person.
So like a toy transformer that you were turned on by, or like a Barbie doll when you were a kid.
Well, I mean, what kind of question is that? Because who hasn't stuck a transformer in their ass? That's like a rite of passage.
I haven't done that.
Oh, you didn't grow up in Southeast Oregon.
That's true. So you refuse to answer the question, or the answer is there wasn't something. What about like She-Ra? Was She-Ra turning you on when you were a kid?
I mean,
Were you just not horny?
no,
Unless it was like
I think
actual penetration that was real.
She-Ra was
Thundercats?
pretty.
The guy with the spikes?
Oh wait, what? Chitara from Thundercats was pretty
She was
hot.
hot. What about the Mortal Kombat babes?
I had a crush on
Chun-Li?
Belle from Beauty and
Street
the
Fighter.
Beast. I liked
Okay.
I liked Sonya from the original Mortal Kombat, but Sonya was just pictures of a real lady
Yeah, but you can't fuck her.
animated.
Yeah, but we didn't know that at the time.
I mean, it's obvious that that's what it was. If you look at it, it's like, oh, these are pictures of real people that are
I
being
didn't know that
animated.
at the time. I never even, when those games came out, games were all just fantasy and magic to me. It was awesome. I never
But
even thought about what
you-
they were or what they weren't or anything.
But you couldn't tell that those were pictures
Never
of
thought
actual
of it
people
like
that had been
no,
animated.
It's just the most realistic game that had come out at the time.
God, I have sucked so much joy out of my life by being so fucking logical about everything.
Yeah.
Because I just try to see everything for
That's why I'm asking this.
what it
So
is.
you had a crush on Belle.
Yeah, I thought Belle was
Did
pretty.
you jerk off? Okay, you don't have to go that far into it.
No, not to any not to any Disney characters.
You never masturbated to Disney?
I thought well
I don't
no
think
because
I did either,
it wasn't
it was love. It wasn't just like
for
doggy
me,
style.
it was like there's nothing there to. I mean, Belle and Jasmine, I think, are my two favorite female Disney
You
characters. The
have a
two
crush
hottest
on him,
female
but you
Disney
never got
characters.
bonies?
I mean, I did, but at the time that I had a crush on him, I didn't even know
You
what
didn't know how
what
to
to
jerk
do
off
with
yet.
it.
Oh.
Like, oh Jesus, it's getting hard. What is that?
Did you ever, when you were jerking off later, did you ever think about them? Or did you like watch porn and pretend that the girl getting fucked was Jasmine?
No, if I watch porn, then it's just
It's just to get it done.
whoever I'm watching it. Yeah, it's just kind of like, all right,
So you don't mix
let's
imagination.
get this out of the way so I can get back to my boring life.
So you don't mix in imagination with the actual porn?
No, not for me. Porn is so I don't have to have an imagination.
We are so different. I can't watch porn unless
That's
I
what
pretend.
makes the show work, though.
True. I have never watched a porn and just stared at it and jerked off. It will not get me off.
LJ, I'm sorry that this is what this episode has turned into.
Yeah.
I don't want this to reflect poorly on your book in any way,
The
but
book is awesome.
I mean, come on,
I'm taking the book and I'm going to keep reading
you
it.
knew what you were getting into when you sent us the book. So,
true.
to be honest, this is kind of your fault.
How long does it take you to find a porn you're going to watch?
I mean, it depends. Is it
Like 2 minutes, 5 minutes,
is
an
it
hour?
Is it a day off, or is it like
On
oh, shit, I
average.
need to be able to concentrate? Well, I mean, an average. The problem with averages is averages are the reason that people think that historically the human lifespan was like 35 years because some kids die at birth, some people die when they're in their 90s. So the
average
average
is 30.
was like, in their mid to late 30s. So some days it's 2-3 minutes. Sometimes it's an all-day event.
Wow. It's never an all-day event for me. I think it's an hour at the most. But it's only because I can't find the right video.
You know what's funny is I think it was David Cross that said it, where it's like you'll spend an hour looking for just the right 15-second part of a porn to
get off. Yeah.
to get off to.
Yeah.
David Cross is
pretty
an
accurate.
asshole, but he's a pretty smart guy when it comes to comedy.
But yeah, for me, I have to have a whole different imagination, visual. It's all in my head. Like there's a scenario that I've come up with has nothing to do with the porn. The porn just helps me get there.
For me,
You just look at that. You just look at the dick going in the puss, and you look at it and you jerk off, and you just look at that. You're not thinking of anything.
the vast majority of anything for me is all in my head.
What's in your head when you're jerking off to a porn?
That's not something that I'm going to get into on a podcast.
You imagine
where
it, and you imagine like you don't have to say specifics, but are
It
you
depends on-
imagining scenarios?
it depends on the
You
situation.
pretend you're the guy, or you pretend you're the girl.
I haven't even described what I'm looking at that point, and I'm not even going to describe it because
Oh,
that's
'cause
my
you're looking
own
at-
personal business.
You're looking at dudes.
I'm looking in the mirror, okay? There, it's out in the open. That's my favorite type of porn is looking in the mirror. No, that's not true. I hate looking at myself. I don't even like being on camera.
I don't look at myself when I jerk off. I used to when I was younger.
Do we really have to have this conversation while you're laying here like this?
Do you want to jerk me off?
Turn off the cameras. All right,
Can't cut it like that. All right, goodbye, guys.
let's call it a night. I want to go.
Sorry,
play some video
LJ. Your
games.
book is awesome. I'm going to keep reading it actually tonight.
LJ, great job on the book.
Yeah, loved it.
It
I love
is
that he's Austrian.
Beasts of the Caliber Lodge by LJ Dougherty.
Buy it on Amazon.
DOUGHERTY. You can buy it on Amazon.
He's a good friend.
And mostly, if we do a premiere for this episode, then he's most likely popping up in the chat right now. So you can go ahead and tell LJ how much you appreciate his book and help us apologize to him for this
all that
episode
dirty talk.
devolving into this.
It got dirty. I feel dirty. Get in bed with me. Turn off the light.
No, I am going to get up and I'm going to go home and I'm going to check on my dogs.
I'm going to go sleep
And then
here.
I'm going to sit and play video games for a little while, and then I'm going to go to bed, and I have to get up and write a new Iconoblast episode in the morning.
Yay.
Have a good night, everybody. I hope this helped put you to sleep.
God bless you. I'm going to find out more about Coop's jerk-off patterns, and I will be informing you all in the next bedtime episode.
That's what he thinks, but it's all misdirection. Nobody really
filming it.
knows.
I got secret cameras in there.
Do you think I don't know you're watching? It's all misdirection. My whole life is just smoke and mirrors. Nobody knows the real me.
Fuck. That'd be weird. I've known you for a long fucking time.
Yeah, it would be weird.
It is weird.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.